You like having this leading edge vantage point where new desire is born within you and the energy that creates worlds flows through you to take thought and experience into an expanded, revolutionary, new place? Or are you just here because there's something you want that you don't have? Sometimes, as we talk about deliberate creating, we know that from your physical perspective that the idea of deliberate creation feels like improving my life. And certainly it can be about that. Sometimes it feels like bringing to me things I have long or short wanted that aren't here yet. And sometimes it feels to you like getting rid of something that is here that you would rather would not be here. And certainly we are wanting to help you to soothe your experiences into the perfection of your desires. It's the way it's supposed to be. You are supposed to get everything that you want. Your life is supposed to measure up to the ideas that you have identified. But as we are visiting with you, while we want every bit of all of that for you, what we want even more is your newfound awareness of the source that is really you, and your discovery of how delicious it is and feels when you allow who you really are to pour through you in a more steady, consistent basis. You are extensions of source energy. You are never separated from source energy. And the more clear the channel, the more open the vortex between the non-physical you and the physical you, then the more delicious the experience for you. It is delicious for your non-physical counterpoint anyway. In other words, even when you are holding ideas that are disallowing the fullness of who you are from flowing through you, even then the universe expands. Even when you are in an uncomfortable place where you are not allowing your joy to radiate at all, even when you've pinched yourself off from the well-being that you so much want and deserve, even then, source energy is still benefiting by its exposure to the new idea through your vantage point. So this gathering is not about getting you to behave differently so that non-physical energy can benefit. It's not about the world suffering in some way and all of us getting together and figuring out how we can fix it and make it a better place. Because it is a perfect, ideal universe in which we are all focused. This workshop, our interaction with you, is about assisting you in discovering how to allow the fullness of all of that divine, delicious nature into your now experience. We want very much for you to begin to, right now, reap the benefit of your conscious connection to source energy. For some time we've been calling this gathering the Science of Deliberate Creation, and we think it is a very good title because it talks about deliberately focusing thought. And after all, that's what creation is about. This is a vibrational universe. We are all vibrational in nature. We're much more electronic, even you in your physical blood, bone, and flesh bodies. We are all much more energy or electricity than anything else that you might define in your physical format. So when you begin thinking in terms of your electronic output, when you think in terms of your electrical signal, where you are emitting a signal, and law of attraction, the magnificent manager of all managers, is recognizing your signal and answering it with other signals that are perfect matches. When you begin to put yourself and your creative endeavor into the context of transmitting and receiving signals, then everything that you are living begins to make sense to you. And it becomes easier for you to understand what's happening with anyone that you might be observing also. Law of attraction is this wonderful, always fair, consistent, even-handed manager of these electronic signals. So, as you are observing something, you are offering a signal. And that signal is being recognized and answered by other things like it. Conditions, experiences, rendezvous, everything that you are living is coming in response to your signal. When you offer your signal deliberately, it is much more satisfying because then what comes back to you has meaning. When you offer your signal haphazardly without having any understanding of what its vibrational content is, then even though what comes back is always a perfect vibrational match to it, it is usually far less satisfying to you because you don't understand why you're getting what you're getting. And when that happens, you get very creative in explaining why it's not working out the way you think it should. It is easy to want to give the credit to someone else, although no one else ever deserves the credit because no one else can vibrate for you. Oh, they can have their own experience, and you can observe their experience, and as you observe their experience, your vibration may be affected by what you're observing. And so you may say, I wish you'd have a different experience, so when I observe a different experience, I have a different vibrational approach to it, so that what comes back to me in response to my vibrational approach pleases me more. In other words, I need you to be different than you are, because when I see you living this life, whether you are another nation, whether you are another religion, whether you are another political party, whether you are another being living another existence, when I see you living this way, it troubles me in that which I see. So would you mind living more in accordance with what would please me, so that when I observe you, you won't mess up my vibration? And we say, nobody can mess up your vibration, only you. And you can get better and better and better at selectively choosing that which you give your attention to. And as you do that, you become a deliberate sifter of vibration. A little more hands-on, deliberate control of your experience, which was exactly what you intended when you made the decision to come forth into these bodies to begin with. Now, how are you going to manage all of this vibrational stuff? How do you know? You're not running around with electronic meters. You're not carrying machines with you to manage the electrical current, but you have something even better within you, and that is your emotional center, which tells you everything about the electronic nature of our universe that you would ever need to know, because it helps you understand fully and powerfully right here in your now your relationship with your source. And since you are extensions of that, since everything about your experience is about that, in other words, the better you feel, the more of that you are allowing. The worse you feel, the less of that which you are allowing. So as you understand your relationship moment by moment to your source energy, then you begin your expression in this physical experience in the way that you have intended it when you made the decision to come in the first place. So what do we mean by that? Well, your emotions let you know the two most important factors, really the only factors that we see of importance. Your emotions tell you how much of this incredible source energy you are focusing through your concentrated vortex right now. That's a big one. In other words, how much have you chewed on a subject, and how much determination have you achieved? How much desire have you focused? Focused, that's the best word yet. How much source energy is focusing through you right now? When you feel passion, it means a tremendous amount of source energy is being focused through you right now. It's like taking a broad spectrum of light and focusing it through the specifics of something narrower. So the speed of the energy is greater, and the sensation of flight is more delicious. The feeling of adventure and movement is more supreme. In the feeling of passion, you have strong, focused desire. And also, in the feeling of passion, you have literally no other thought, beliefs, and such that are contradictory in nature. In other words, when you feel passion, it means you want it and you believe it. When you feel rage or strong negative emotion, no matter what you call it, whether you call it fear or depression, when you feel strong negative emotion, it means you have harnessed a tremendous amount of non-physical energy, every bit as much as in the passion that we just described. But in the feeling of strong negative emotion, that means you have vibrational static or resistance within your system. You are hindering the flow of the energy, and you don't feel so good in the process. So negative emotion is your indicator of resistance, while positive emotion is your indicator of allowance. And they are on the same meter. Allowance, resistance. Allowance, resistance. When you decide that you are going to be the deliberate creator of your experience, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would use a little different terminology. We would begin saying, I am the deliberate allower of the well-being that is natural. Because when you put it into the context of allowing, It puts you more in the hands-on position of doing what you need to do in order to allow it to be. You see, this creative process really has only 3 steps. There is the asking part. That comes easy to you. Contrast helps you to determine what you want. There is the responding to the asking, or the giving, or the yielding, in other words, and law of attraction manages that. When you ask, it is always given. This universe of well-being, whether you call it God, or universe, or creative life force, it answers always in response to your asking. You can't ask for anything, big or small, grand or insignificant. You can't ask for the slightest thing or the biggest thing without universal forces coming right to the answer, right here, right now. Immediately the answer comes. But there is a third component that must be in place within you, and that is you must be in the receiving mode. If you're not in the receiving mode, then even though you've asked and even though it's being given, you're not letting it in. And because often you are not in the receiving mode, you assume that somebody is withholding the goods. Maybe I should be doing something. I should have been born under a different star or to a different family or under different times, or I should have been better in past lives, or I should have done something different with my activity to earn it. I need to earn my blessings. And we say, you don't need to, nor can you earn your blessings, but it is important that you be a vibrational match to your own desire. When you send off a desire, it has a signal. And if you are to receive your own desire, you must be in vibrational harmony with your own signal. Jerry and Esther have a motor coach. You may be hearing us talking about it. It is providing them and us a whole lot of fun experience in exploring this physical time-space reality. And on this motor coach is a satellite dish. Now up there in the sky over Houston is a satellite that beams the signal to them. So when they come into a campground, the first thing Esther says to Jerry is, "Where's Houston?" She wants to know approximately what direction Houston is from the way they are sitting, because she wants to look to see if there is a tree in the way or a building in the way. In other words, if there is a tree between her dish and Houston, there's not a lot of point in even turning it on, because she's not going to get a signal. She knows she is wanting a clear space between. She has a button inside her motor coach that has elevation, and she has a little chart that lets her know, depending on where she is, approximately where to set the elevation on this dish, which means if it is a lower elevation, it goes around the sky at a lower looking point. If it is a higher elevation, it looks a little higher in the sky. In other words, it depends on their proximity to Houston, how high they set this elevation. Esther has discovered through trial and error that if she does not set her elevation properly, that satellite dish will work all night long looking for the signal. It will look and look and look and look and look and look and look, but it will not lock on to the satellite. In other words, it is not set in the proper receiving mode. What we are wanting you to realize, and no matter the effort, Esther could say, if you really wanted this, you'd do it. You're just not trying hard enough. You're not working hard enough or long enough. You have not paid a great enough price. And we say, it is making effort in an impossible situation. They can hear it on the roof. Looking, but it cannot find because it is not in the proper receiving mode. And so that's what we're wanting to assist you with. We're wanting you to realize that so many of the things that you have been wanting, that you've been offering extraordinary effort in order to achieve, still are not coming into your experience because you need just the slightest little vibrational tweaking. And that's what this seminar is about. It's about you utilizing this fantastic emotional guidance system that helps you to know whether you're locked onto your signal or locked off to your signal. You can tell by the way you feel when you're getting closer and when you're getting further away. It really is as simple as good means good and bad means bad. In other words, if it feels good to you, you are getting closer to your signal. And you can really feel, you can feel when you're onto something. You can feel by the emotion and the enthusiasm that moves through you. So, we are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. There is no order of business here in the sense that there is anything that is off limits. There is nothing that you are wanting to talk about that we would encourage you to hold back. If it seems important to you, it is important to this discussion.